Hello everyone. In this lecture, I'm going to introduce to you about analyzing surface. We first open our file 6-6 flow along surface. We have a few objects in there, and this is a typical scene about a flow along surface. We have a pattern, we have a base surface, and we have a target surface. So you may wonder why do we need to learn about analyzing surface? First of all, analyzing surface is a very important tool for problem solving. Because for most of the part, in previous lecture, we were able to do flow along surface. However, in the future, when you work on your own project, there might be some problems. So if you don't understand the surface property, you may run into some of the problems. So analyzing surface is basically a problem-solving tool. So we first click on the toolbar, Analyzing Surface, which is at the bottom. And we select Object and press Enter. So now you could see, if you point your cursor to on the surface, then you will see 3 arrows. One is white, one is red, and one is green. The white color represents the direction of the surface. The red is U direction. The green is V direction. So first we go and look at our command line, and we click on Flip. So as you can see, when we click on Flip, it changes the direction of the surface, which is represented by the white arrow. And we could also change the direction of both U and V by clicking on V reverse and U reverse. Remember where the right arrow is pointing to and where the green is pointing to. Let's click on U reverse. So as you can see, the right arrow is changed direction. So if we do V reverse, then the green will change direction. It was pointing out, now it's pointing in. We could also swap the UV. So let's just not to change anything about it, and just keep as it is. I will escape. I will make a copy of the same surface, and I will change the copy of it. Click on Analyzing Tool, and what I do is I would swap the UV, which means the U will become the V and the V will become the U. So if you look at the where and red and the green and remember their direction, and we swap UV. So now the green follows the edge and the red is pointing out. So the U and the V change the direction. We will press Enter. These two surfaces basically are the same, except they have a different UV direction because we swapped the U and the V. So now let's do a flow along surface. Just type in flow. Select flow along surface. Make sure nothing is selected. Press flow, flow along surface, and select the object. Press Enter, and select the base surface, and then select the target surface. So that's the result of our first flow along surface, and then do a second flow along surface. Press Enter, select Object, press Enter, select base surface, and then select the target surface. So as you can see, the second one is dramatically different than the first one. The first one is normally the result that we would like to see, which the pattern is applied to a surface and is really on top of it, and is going the same direction. And the second one is a very different flow along surface. And the second one is applied underneath the surface and is going a different direction. So the second one is going horizontal. The original pattern is going vertical in our case. So as you probably still remember, let's hide our object, the pattern, and just look at the two surfaces. As you probably remember, we did a little bit trick about those two surfaces. They look the same, but they have a different property. Let's click on analyzing surface and understand the difference. The difference is, in this case, the white arrow is pointing up and the red is going along the edge and the green is pointing out. And the second surface, the white color is still pointing up, the green is going along the edge and the red is pointing out. So the difference is between the U and the V because we swapped the UV, which the U become the V and the V become the U. That is the reason why these two flow along surface are having a different result. So let's delete all of this and start a new project. This is what you're going to do in your exercise is you're going to create your own surface, and then you do a two flow along surface and using analyze tool to create two different flow. So I'm just going to create a curve and modify the curve by dragging some of the control point so that it becomes a three-dimensional curve. And I'm going to draw another curve line which sort of look like a straight line, but it's really a 3-degree curvy line. And I'm going to mirror image, select the midpoint, press shift, and I'm going to join. I can probably go to the, yeah, I'm using my smart track, so I was able to snap to the middle point and finish. So maybe I also want to drag to make it for the both end to make them also three-dimensional curve. So I sort of have a set of curving line like this, and I'm going to build a surface using surface from edges. So I sort of have a surface, something like this. And we could also rebuild if we want. Let's modify the surface a little bit. So we rebuild by adding a little bit more control points and changing the U and the V both to degree 3. So let's look at this. So that's pretty much what we have. If you want to modify it, you can continue to modify by dragging some of the points here and there. We'll just leave it as it is. It probably won't matter too much whether you rebuild the surface. It's just something that might be helpful if you want to build more elaborate pattern, and maybe this is not really the surface what you want, and you could let's just play with it a little bit. Maybe all of them can go up a little bit. Yeah, and having a different sort of surface. So the surface is not a big deal, and whatever you have, just use it. And we're going to create a pattern. So I'm going to do a straight pattern in this case. Let's do another trick is by doing a straight line. in this case I have a pattern like this. If you would like, you could make sure the middle point is really at the middle. Once you're happy, you can delete your straight line. And we're going to make multiple copies of this. We could probably use array instead of making multiple copies, which is faster. We're going to make 20 for the x direction and keep 1 for y and 1 for z. And the space will be exactly the dimension of your first one. So we have a line like this, and press enter to accept. And we could, if you want, you can probably group so that they will not fall apart, but I think it's fine in this case without grouping, and we extrude and become a pattern. Once we're done, we could group it so that this is together. And we do need a base surface, which I could construct very easily because this is just a rectangular shape. I could use rectangular tool to construct a base surface underneath it. Although both target surface are much smaller than the pattern, it doesn't matter. We just go ahead and do a flow along surface, type in flow and select flow along surface, and select object, which is our group. Press enter and select your base surface and do a flow along surface target. So the first one is actually, this is a little bit, maybe this pattern is a little bit too sharp at the center because how the surface is constructed. But anyway, you could see if we hide our surface, you could see our flow along surface happened, but maybe this is not really what you want because it's going a different direction. So we want to make sure our second flow along surface, which we use to flow along this surface, will happen the same direction. So we need to analyze on the surface a little bit. So restore the surface and just I move them apart so that you can actually see. So let's analyze on both of the surface. So first we click on this one that we already did. Normally you can ignore the white color because it probably doesn't matter which direction it goes. So we'll just need to pay attention to where the red and the green goes. It probably doesn't matter that this one goes, the red follows this edge and the green follows the other edge. And let's analyze on the other one. These two at this time, because they're just copy of each other, they have the same property. The red also goes along this edge and the green goes here. So what we need to do is we actually need to swap the UV at this point in order for the flow along surface to happen in the same direction. So we swap the U and V. So now the green goes here and the red goes here. So we press enter. So I like the target surface to be a little bit bigger. I could simply just do a scale. Let's do a second flow along surface. Type in flow and select flow along surface. Select object, which is our group, and our base surface we created, and target surface. Oh, I forgot to press enter. So do it again. Type in flow, flow along surface, select object, press enter, and base surface and target surface. Yeah, so this time, this happened sort of as what we wish. However, this could be what you wish, so it doesn't matter. What we want to achieve is you have two different directions for flow along surface. So that's all about this analyzing surface.